Ferrari has a problem, and it's not the car. Charles Leclerc just set the fastest lap of pre-season testing, 1:31.992. Meanwhile, Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time world champion Ferrari spent years pursuing, is still adapting to a machine that drives nothing like his Mercedes. On paper, this should be Leclerc's moment. His car, his team, his time. But inside Maranello, a very different calculation is being made. One that has nothing to do with lap times, and everything to do with money, legacy, and the most valuable narrative in Formula One history. The question the entire paddock is asking: will Ferrari stay loyal to Charles Leclerc, or sacrifice him to chase Lewis Hamilton's 8th world championship? Before I break down the evidence, I want to know where you stand. Charles Leclerc joined Ferrari in 2019. He's given them 6 years of his career. He stayed when Mercedes reportedly came calling. He defended the team publicly, even when their strategy errors arguably cost him the 2022 championship. Lewis Hamilton is the most successful driver in F1 history. 7 titles, 104 wins, a global icon who transcends motorsport. And at 41 years old, he's chasing one final piece of history. So here's the question: will Ferrari reward Leclerc's loyalty, or will they prioritize Hamilton's legacy chase? Drop your answer in the comments right now. Just type Leclerc or Hamilton. I'm genuinely curious where this community stands. Now let me show you why this question matters more than you might think. To understand what might happen in 2026, we need to examine what Ferrari has done in the past. Because this team has a documented pattern when it comes to driver hierarchy. And it's not subtle. The Schumacher era, Austria 2002. Rubens Barrichello was leading the race. On the final corner of the final lap, he moved aside to hand Michael Schumacher the victory. The crowd booed so loudly you could hear it over the engines. This wasn't a spontaneous decision. Barrichello's contract reportedly included clauses requiring him to support Schumacher. Ferrari made no apologies. Championships were the priority. The Alonso era, Germany 2010. Felipe Massa was ahead of Fernando Alonso, with 20 laps remaining. Then came the most infamous team radio message in F1 history.
Fernando is faster than you. Fernando is faster than you.
Massa moved aside. Alonso won. Ferrari was fined $100,000 for violating the ban on team orders, which tells you how seriously they took that rule. The Vettel-Leclerc transition. When Leclerc arrived in 2019, Sebastian Vettel was the established number 1, 4-time world champion, Ferrari's chosen star. But when Leclerc started outperforming him, the dynamic shifted rapidly. By 2020, Vettel was publicly questioning team strategies. By the end of that year, he was gone. Here's the pattern that should concern Leclerc fans. In every documented case, Ferrari prioritized the driver they believed would deliver a championship. Past service meant nothing. Current performance meant everything. And here's the uncomfortable question. Does Ferrari believe Lewis Hamilton gives them a better chance at a title than Charles Leclerc? The testing data suggests they shouldn't, but the data might not be what Ferrari is actually looking at. Let's look at what we know from Bahrain. Testing, not speculation, but actual recorded data. Charles Leclerc set the fastest lap of the entire test, 1:31.992, according to published timing data. Leclerc's long-run pace was among the most consistent of any frontrunner. Multiple journalists on site, including respected analysts, noted that Leclerc appeared completely comfortable with the SF26. Lewis Hamilton's times were notably slower. Now, to be fair, testing times are notoriously unreliable. Teams run different fuel loads, different tyre compounds, different engine modes. Hamilton may have been on a completely different program. But here's what's harder to explain away. Hamilton himself has acknowledged the adaptation challenge. In post-testing interviews, Hamilton spoke about finding his feet with the new car. After 18 years driving McLarens and Mercedes, 2 teams with broadly similar design philosophies, he's now learning a machine with fundamentally different characteristics. The Ferrari braking system is different. The front-end response is different. The energy deployment strategy is different. At 41 years old, Hamilton is essentially rewiring muscle memory he's built over 2 decades. Meanwhile, Leclerc has been driving Ferraris since 2019. He knows every quirk of their design philosophy. He's worked with many of the same engineers for 6 years. So if Leclerc is faster and more adapted, Why would Ferrari possibly favour Hamilton? Because speed isn't the only thing Ferrari's calculating. Here's something that often gets overlooked in driver debates. Formula One teams are businesses, and Ferrari is perhaps the most commercially sophisticated team on the grid. Let's look at what Lewis Hamilton brings beyond driving ability. Social media presence. According to publicly available data, Hamilton has approximately 35 million followers on Instagram alone. Leclerc has around 18 million. That's nearly double the marketing reach. Every post Hamilton makes in Ferrari gear is seen by an audience larger than the population of most countries. Mainstream crossover. Hamilton regularly appears at fashion weeks, Met Galas, and Hollywood events. He's co-produced films. He's launched clothing lines. He brings Ferrari into cultural conversations that pure motorsport coverage never reaches. When Hamilton wears Ferrari red to a global event, that's marketing exposure money cannot buy. 8th title narrative. This is the big one. If Lewis Hamilton wins his 8th World Championship with Ferrari, it becomes arguably the greatest story in motorsport history. The most successful driver ever, at 42 years old, joining the most iconic team ever and breaking Michael Schumacher's all-time record. Every major news outlet on Earth covers that story. The value to Ferrari's brand is incalculable. Now think about it from the Maranello boardroom. Leclerc winning a championship would be fantastic. It would end Ferrari's drought. It would validate years of investment. But Hamilton winning his 8th? That's a global cultural event. That's front page of every newspaper. That's documentary deals and mainstream headlines for months. And Ferrari has always understood the value of narrative. But here's where it gets complicated. Because there's reason to believe Charles Leclerc won't simply accept a supporting role. And what he may be demanding could create a serious problem for team management. Charles Leclerc is not Rubens Barrichello. He's not Felipe Massa. And based on his public statements, he has no intention of becoming the next number 2 driver. In multiple interviews since Hamilton's signing was announced, Leclerc has emphasized his expectation of equal treatment. He's spoken about proving himself on track and letting the results decide. That's careful language, but it's also clear language. Leclerc is signaling that he expects a fair fight. According to various paddock reports, and I want to emphasize these are reports, not confirmed facts, Leclerc's current contract may contain provisions regarding driver equality, specific terms around strategy, development resources, and team orders. Whether such clauses exist, and whether they're enforceable, remains private, but the perception in the paddock is that Leclerc negotiated from a position of strength. And here's where Leclerc has real leverage: timing. His current contract reportedly runs through 2026 or 2027. If Ferrari were to clearly favour Hamilton and Leclerc felt betrayed, he could simply run out his deal and leave. And who would want Charles Leclerc? At 27 or 28 years old, still in his prime, Red Bull would take that call in seconds. Mercedes would be interested. McLaren reportedly tried to sign him before. Every top team would see Leclerc as a championship-winning talent. Ferrari knows this. Leclerc knows Ferrari knows this. It creates a kind of mutually assured destruction scenario. Neither side benefits from open warfare. Fred Vasseur, Ferrari's team principal, has publicly committed to equal treatment for both drivers. The question is whether that commitment survives the first moment where Ferrari must make a choice. But what if the real threat to Leclerc isn't Ferrari's management decisions at all? What if the bigger challenge is Hamilton himself and the way he's historically operated within teams? Let's be clear about something. Lewis Hamilton is not just a fast driver. He's a master of team dynamics. And that's not criticism, it's recognition of elite competitive intelligence. Look at Hamilton's teammate history. McLaren 2007. Hamilton arrived as a rookie alongside Fernando Alonso, a 2-time reigning world champion at the peak of his powers. By the end of the season, the relationship had completely fractured. Alonso left, Hamilton stayed and eventually won the 2008 title. Mercedes 2013 to 2016. Nico Rosberg was Hamilton's childhood friend and teammate. Their rivalry intensified year after year until 2016, when Rosberg won the championship by 4 points and immediately retired, citing the psychological toll of competing against Hamilton. Rosberg has spoken publicly about how difficult that battle was, not just on track, but within the team. Mercedes 2017 to 2024. After Rosberg, Mercedes brought in Valtteri Bottas, a driver who was fast enough to score points but who never challenged Hamilton politically. Then George Russell, who arrived understanding the established hierarchy. Here's what this history suggests. Hamilton doesn't just win on Sundays. He wins the internal battle. He builds relationships with engineers. He becomes the emotional center of the team. And gradually, organizational structures align around him. This isn't manipulation, it's competitive intelligence. Hamilton understands that Formula One is won in the factory as much as on the track, and he operates accordingly. The question for Leclerc is whether he has the same political sophistication. Because if Hamilton is already building relationships inside Maranello, attending factory events, connecting with senior leadership, establishing trust with engineers, then Leclerc may find himself fighting a battle he didn't even realize had started. Let's examine what's publicly observable since Hamilton joined Ferrari. Hamilton has been photographed at multiple Ferrari events alongside senior leadership, including John Elkann, Ferrari's chairman. These are relationship-building moments. Hamilton has spoken extensively in interviews about Ferrari's passion, their family culture, their incredible history. He's speaking their language. He's integrating into their identity. Hamilton brought trusted personnel with him from Mercedes. His performance engineer, members of his personal team. These are people who know how he works and who he trusts. That's infrastructure. Now, to be fair, Leclerc has been at Ferrari for 6 years. He has his own relationships, his own engineers, his own political capital. This isn't one-sided. But Leclerc's recent public statements have been notably careful. He's talked about proving himself and earning results. That's not typically how a secure number one driver speaks. That's the language of someone who perceives a competitive threat. Small details from testing have fueled speculation. Which driver got the optimal evening sessions when track conditions were best? How were resources allocated when issues arose? Who had more face time with senior engineers? We don't have definitive answers to these questions, but the fact that they're being asked tells you something about the paddock's perception. Ferrari will deny any favoritism. They'll point to equal testing allocations, equal resources, equal treatment on paper. But equality on paper and equality in practice are often different things. Melbourne will be the first real test. When the pressure is real and strategy decisions must be made, we'll see exactly how Ferrari handles two stars who both expect to win. So will Ferrari betray Charles Leclerc for Lewis Hamilton? Here's my honest analysis, based on the historical patterns and current evidence. Short term, early 2026. No. Ferrari needs both drivers performing at maximum. They'll maintain the appearance of equality. They'll let the track decide and avoid any early controversy. Medium term, mid-season. This is where it gets complicated. If Hamilton adapts quickly and starts matching or exceeding Leclerc's pace, expect subtle shifts. Development focus might trend toward Hamilton's feedback. Strategy and marginal situations might favor him. Not because Ferrari is disloyal, but because they're pragmatic. If Hamilton is performing, the commercial and narrative benefits of his success become harder to ignore. Long-term championship contention. If Ferrari faces a genuine choice between supporting Leclerc's championship or Hamilton's 8th title, I believe they choose Hamilton. History suggests this. The commercial equation suggests this. The legacy opportunity suggests this. It's not personal. It's not about who deserves it more. It's about what Ferrari believes serves their interests best. The realistic view. Leclerc's best protection is performance. If he's clearly faster, consistently faster, undeniably faster, then Ferrari can't justify favouring Hamilton without creating a massive PR problem. But if it's close, if they're separated by tenths, if strategy decisions become judgment calls, that's when institutional preferences matter. That's when commercial calculations matter. That's when Leclerc needs to hope his contract clauses are as strong as reported. Ferrari is not a charity. They're not in the business of rewarding loyalty. They're in the business of winning championships and building brand value. If Hamilton delivers both, Leclerc's 6 years of service become a footnote. If Leclerc outperforms, he's protected. If it's close, Ferrari chooses the biggest story. That's not betrayal, that's Formula One.
Alright, I need your predictions. Team Leclerc or Team Hamilton? Who gets the preferential treatment by mid-season? Who's leaving Ferrari first? Drop your prediction in the comments. I'm genuinely tracking these to see how this community reads the situation. And if you want to understand exactly why Aston Martin 2026 car is so disaster, and whether it's actually capable of delivering anyone a championship, watch this video next. It breaks down the AMR 26 in complete technical detail. Subscribe if you want real F1 analysis. No corporate PR, no team-approved talking points. Just pattern recognition, data analysis, and the uncomfortable questions that matter.
And look, if you're Charles Leclerc and you're somehow watching this video between simulator sessions, maybe start answering those unknown numbers that keep calling for Milton Keynes. Could be Red Bull, could be a telemarketer. But honestly, at this point, either one might offer you more job security. Just kidding, Ferrari would never betray a loyal driver. I mean, they've only done it like 6 times in the last 30 years. Totally different situation. Actually, Charles, definitely answer those calls. See you in Melbourne. May the best driver win. Or whoever Ferrari decides should win. Same thing, right?